I'm really pleased to be able to introduce Juanita to the meeting. She and I met each other at a conference that we were both speaking at, probably, I don't know, more than a decade ago.
Yeah.
Um, and we've maintained regular communications since. She is the chair in waiting. I'm not sure if that's the correct description, but
I am
something
the
similar.
vice president. There you go. Of all of the titles
Okay,
you could have, the
the
vice, but
vice
not the deputy.
of the Professional Speakers Association. And after our last training programs that we delivered towards the end of last year, I shared the feedback with Juanita, and I said to her that we had really had a great learning experience, but that one of the challenges that we had was that several of our speakers had really battled to communicate and to use the technology that was available to them effectively. And she said to me, "I know the solution to this. Let's run a workshop, and we'll sit down and just provide some pointers to people that will allow them to communicate more effectively online." So that's how this webinar all came about. You'll have seen that everybody that's in the webinar has joined with their microphone muted and also with their camera not activated. Towards the end of the session, we will turn everybody's cameras on because there's some exercises that we want to do with you. But if you have any questions as we progress, you'll see in the top of your screen, number one, there's a big question mark where you can post questions. And I see that there are two comments there. The first from Titus, who says it's Monday. Thanks, Titus. Um, if it was Wednesday, I know where you'd be. Um, and then Gus Skippers from the Western Cape, who says, "How does one write an engaging presentation to a young audience?" I have no idea if that's a topic that Juanita's going to address, but I'm
I
sure that
can. I haven't
yeah,
planned
yeah,
on it, but I can.
in 90 minutes we're going to be addressing it. Uh, Colette says, "I am muted, can't hear you." Everybody else can hear me. So, Colette, I think it might be a problem on your side. Um, you want to press your microphone button or do whatever it is. Is anybody else having the same problem? If you can hear me, just send me a thumbs up using the react button. Corne, yep.
Yeah, all
There,
good, Kevin, on my
lots
side
of
as
people.
well.
Okay. Corne, Colette, I think the problem might be on your side. Um, so, yeah, and Guani can hear me as well. So yeah, it's this is going to be a friendly discussion about how to go about using online tools to communicate more effectively with a specific audience. Juanita, maybe you want to introduce yourself more effectively than I've done. Um, and as I said, we've got 40 people on the line at the moment. If you have any questions, put them into the question box, put them into the chat box. We're going to monitor them. We'll make sure that we address all of the questions as we progress. And if you have questions that you want to ask in person, please raise your hand, and we can activate your microphone and give you the ability to ask questions in person. Juanita, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So I've had a few tough presentations in my life, but today is definitely one for the books. This will become a story in all of the presentation training I do after today because I have followed my own advice, which I'll give you later. And then my PC decided now is a good time to run updates. So that update finished 7 minutes before 7 o'clock. And now I'm up and running and I'm opening PowerPoint, and PowerPoint is still trying to open. Task Manager is doing absolutely nothing. I cannot access it. So Plan B has become Plan C. My trusty tripod is to my right. I would have done this presentation on my phone if need be, of data if need be. I've even got a ring light that plugs into a USB light, and I've got my power bank charged. And that I've learned through being a speaker, trainer, facilitator, person with a big mouth for a number of years. Yes, I'm a professional speaker. Yes, I'm currently the vice president of the Professional Speakers Association of South Africa. And in my speaking, yes, I do a lot on stage and I do prefer it. But as we all know, 2020 happened and we had to adjust. And it's not going to go back. People still want online, it's convenient, all of these things. But what we have to realize is this quick switch that we had to do in 2020, that quick switch is over. Expectations have changed, but for the better. It's no longer necessary to feel pressured to have a massive studio set up and a green screen set up just to do good training. Interestingly enough, it's a bunch of communication skills that maybe you weren't taught or you haven't practiced that now really, really comes into play. So PowerPoint is still not working for me, but since I run on Google Drive and since I can access everything on Google Drive, I'm going to run this presentation from my browser, which is completely untested. So whatever happens, happens. And that is tip number one. And now I'm running ahead of myself for slide design. When you do slides, trust your own communication ability and your presentation ability more than you trust your slides. Because if you've got these big things embedded in the slides and they kind of have to make your point for you, and what happens to me is happening to you, and all of it flows or all of it goes, you can only rely on yourself. So I'm going to click the share button and I am going to wait for this thing. There you go. Applications. Let me rather do that one. And share, and we should be on. Not yet. Everything is very slow. Here's another tip, since I'm being forced to do a challenging tech presentation at the moment. When you're struggling, as I am very obviously now, when you are struggling with your tech, when nothing seems to be going right, oh, it is actually showing, talk your audience through it. Don't get all flustered and press buttons without them. Make eye contact, explain what's going on so that people still feel engaged. Okay, Kevin, can you give me an indication of whether you can also see that I am sharing my screen, as apparently I am, but I was not aware.
Juanita, yes, we can see your screen. Everything's honky dory. You're ready to go.
Well, everything's hunky-dory for you. Let me see how hunky-dory it is for me. Okay. So Kevin has been kind enough to send me some of the feedback from previous Sakya training sessions. And I'm going to highlight this to you so that you can understand that this training was compiled with various factors in mind, but definitely not to harp on one area or for one person to say, you are doing this wrong and you must do this better and you've got a terrible voice and you must do a voice change and all of that. But let's look at the type of feedback that our delegates give us, our attendees give us, so that we can get into their minds and understand what all of the things are that we need to keep in mind when we do online training. A lot of speakers only referred to legislation but did not unpack it. This is so easy to do when you've got a lot of content and so on to do. You just slap it into a PowerPoint and you say, I'll work through it, and they'll work through it for me. I've got a trick for you that works really well. I only figured it out last year, October, but that works really, really very well for things like legislation, where there's a big bunch of information or 15 things to, and you really don't want a text-heavy slide. Don't try to squeeze in too much information into too short a space. Well, if Kevin shouted at you and told you to explain the entire universe, the answer is 42 if you know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But if Kevin is making you do too many things, the time to reduce that information is beforehand, where you agree to the scope of the training. Not when you are in the training and you are rushing through everything just to get through it. So make sure that the scope is properly agreed for the time that you can cover, and then check yourself. As you put things in, yes, you know everything. That's why you're a presenter. You're an expert in your field. But that does not mean your everything is going to help others to understand better. Information does not equal influence. I felt there was a lack of interaction due to time constraints. Oh, the worst thing ever, the hardest thing ever to do, especially if you do a 3-day training, which I had to do for Qatar. And those guys were allowing me to monologue for 3 days, 3 full days. No interaction. It's hard, but I've got a few tips for you there as well. Can we make it more interactive for the audience, but do not allow Q&A during the event? So Kevin, thank you very much for saying that if people have a question, they should raise their hands. I will take all questions towards the end, please, to not interrupt the flow. Time allocation was not sufficient. Modules were rushed. Once again, we have so much information. We, as a trainer, you want people to know everything you know in the hopes that they will pick and choose and find for themselves the stuff that they want. However, in this online world, and with content being ubiquitous and just everywhere coming at you, what we need less of now is just fire rows of information and more a curation of the things that you know, packaged into this specific training. Speakers should be encouraged to rehearse their presentation, their technical setup. Got tips for you there as well, because I'm a terrible rehearser. Presenters need to be ready with their presentations and also look at the connectivities and have a plan B. Look, I'm on plan C now at the moment. So yes, that I agree with. More confident and more prepared. We'll talk a little bit about that, and discard the lengthy intros and bios. I'm going to thank Kevin for the lengthy intro and bio today, because it just bought me some time to figure out how to present this thing on a machine that is refusing to do the thing it is supposed to do. But here's my thing. In all of my years, and it sounds like I've been doing this for ages. I've been doing it for 10 years, I think, 7 years, 5 years, I can't remember. It's not just about the content. Whether you are on stage, whether you are on TV, whether you're on radio, whether you're in an article, whether you're in a classroom, whether you're in your boardroom or on screen, it's not just about the content. That's how we grew up. You sat in school and it was just about the content. You went to university, college, technicon, was all about the content. You know, you're responsible for your own entertainment. The world has shifted completely. People can't filter as much anymore. So instead of just making your training session about the content, make it about the entire experience. Now, I know I'm talking to a bunch of qualified people here, but one of your areas of comfort might not be, you know, to do lively, to speak with hats, to show up and to just talk to a bunch of random people, to just monologue to a camera as I'm doing now. But you have to realize that the more you design the experience for people, the less they will ask for make it more interactive or do more of this, do more of that, because they will feel that not only their brains were engaged, but the whole of them. Okay, I've got a little bit of a warning for you that I'd please like you to heed, and I'm going to shush for 30 seconds. Yes, I am capable of doing that, so that you can complete this task. Please, 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 for the rest of this presentation, take notes. This is a warning and a tip. Take notes. You will need them at the end. Now, if I'm saying take notes, literally just your aha moments. Please don't write down every single thing I say. I say a lot of words. Your aha moments, please. Things that go, I forgot about that. I need to pay more attention to that. Oh, I thought that. Oh, I thought different. Your aha moments, please do write them down. And then, and now I'm going to shush for 30 seconds after I've said that, please find a blank sheet of A4 paper, even if it's a notebook that you just open, you're going to use it at the end. I hope you've run away from your desks or your tables or the kitchen counter where you're cooking to go and do some of this. If you ever wanted to know how to do an awkward silence, that was it. I hope that everybody is back and that you are going to be taking notes of your aha moments, not a transcript of everything I say. And yes, I know you can take AI notes, but I promise you this will be so much that AI will most probably get confused. Just jot down your aha moments. So if I'm saying it's not just about the content, it is about the entire experience. I'm talking about what our attendees see, what they hear, what they feel, and what they do. So let's start with what people see, slide design. Look, I can spend days and days and days and days and days on slide design, and you have most probably delved into it some degree as well, so you can improve your own slides. Or you've just gone, look, since PowerPoint opened, I have been using this clip art and this template, and I haven't switched off from 4:3. The other day, I actually saw one of my presentations in 4:3 mode. I'm like, oh, I have been doing this for a while. It's all widescreen now, by the way. So if we look at example one of how to not do this, you've all heard of the term, I'm thinking, of death by PowerPoint. PowerPoint isn't the problem. Keynote isn't the problem. Look, I'm presenting on Google Slides at the moment. Text is the problem. The same information, your job, our jobs as trainers, our jobs is to package the exact same information in a different format, in a visually appealing format. Are all the words from this slide on that slide? No, and that's the point. Because if you're a presenter and you are talking, these are the words that you're saying. These are the words that people are going to remember. Suddenly they see, oh, how to make a good first impression. There are 4 things I need to remember. There you kind of have to count after you've read. Break it down for them. Be on time, dress and impress, all of those things. And you explain, you elaborate on all of those points. Does this look a little bit, oh, I don't have those graphics. I must buy time from a designer. I must get, yeah, maybe, but there's ways to do it. Example number 2, if you've fallen in love with transitions and animations and actions and functions and templates in PowerPoint, thank you very much for exploring all of the functionality that has been built into PowerPoint. However, please stop using it, because it takes forever to get through a thing. And this does not increase engagement. It's just too much. So how then do you go to something like this without hiring a designer, without saying, well, I can't do this, it's just not on me? You can most probably Google how to build this thing in PowerPoint, not crazy, not something fancy, really, really quickly. I mean, on Instagram, I sometimes get random, oh, this is a new feature in PowerPoint. However, to keep it very, very simple, look at some of the things I've done in this presentation that I'm giving you now, not the endangered species one. I know nothing about endangered species, my own, because I tend to use very simple and very bold design tips. Don't look at my face there. It's one of those things where I've been too animated on stage, but it's a good example of a presentation in practice. No words really, I'm saying the words. Your slides are just a visual cue for people to remember. It's a visual anchor so they don't look away. Because we live in a multi-screen society, people want to be multi-channel engaged. So there's my little facts, the names of the people in a different orientation, alignments there, it's bold. It says nothing more than remember these 2 guys and whatever I was saying at the time. This is an interesting story, and this was, to date, the story I will always tell of one of my most difficult presentations. Tonight is fast becoming top second, not first just yet. I had half an hour to prepare. There was a speaker that they had booked and so on. He fell extremely ill that morning. I was a stand-in speaker, had to drive from Pretoria to Kempton Park in the morning. I arrived 30 minutes before, did a quick sound check, and then I said, okay, I now have to talk about doing business in Africa. At that stage, I've never done business in Africa. I've never done business outside of the borders of South Africa. So I had to go back to what is it that I know? How do I serve my audience? And how do I slap together a slide deck that is just somewhat irritating? Here's the best tip, and you'll see I kind of stuck there. Get rid of the bullet points, no bullet points, no nothing, and center everything. And use it in groups of 3 or 5. As you can see, that was the slide. That was built, the entire slide deck was built in the 30 minutes before I had to do an hour-long presentation. It's bold, it is visually appealing, it's an anchor. Will it win awards for design stuff? No. But find your groove, find your brand of presentations and stick to it and keep it very, very simple. Because here's the thing. As trainers, we know a lot of stuff, right? So we want to give people everything. But a training session is not the same as reading a book. We are not writing books. We are not writing training manuals. And whatever works well on a screen when you read it, or in a book when you read it, or print out when you read it, does usually not translate very well onto screen. So here is tip, trick thing that I figured out in October last year. Finally, after all of these years, I found, oh, this is how I'm supposed to do it. Because I used to build my slide deck and then put all of my thoughts in the notes, and then I couldn't print out the notes because they were It just didn't work, especially for training. Keynote presentation is something different. Okay, so what I want to show you is live training session I did. Okay, this was the slideshow. So that was the slide of the 9 benefits of the thing that I was presenting. For the life of me, it was also 3-day training. I would not be able to remember all of those details. It was brand new material. It was a custom thing that I had to build. So what I did for myself was I made myself a script in a Word document as I was building my slide deck. All of the research, all of my thoughts, all of my links, all of those things I dumped in here. So this was these benefits. There you go. That was all of the content. That page and that page and that page and number 9. So what would we have usually done, right? We go and we copy and we paste and we make a bulleted list because bullet lists are nice and it's on a white background, all of these things, everybody can read it. But that's the thing, people read so much and people's brains recognize pictures a lot easier. So why not do in pictures? Every single one of these icons, apologies, I just got from PowerPoint. It's just a note for me to remember what I'm supposed to say next. And if I want to refer to the details, I don't read off the slide, I go to my script. One step further, if you want to make it interactive, then you design a tiny little exercise on it. The exercise, see, here's the workbook. So I've got the script, I've got the workbook, and I've got the slide deck. Does it feel like more work? Yes. Is it? Actually, no, because you don't have to remember a lot of stuff. As you find it, you dump it, you design it. There you go. The little exercise I designed was, in your unique situation, what will be the biggest benefit of what I was talking about? Just that. 3 different packaging, 3 different ways of packaging the exact same material. 1 accommodating the preferences and the needs of the audiences, 1 the preferences and the needs of the presenter, and 1 of the post-event, post-training efficacy. So what if you want to include some nice videos and some nice sounds and stuff to make it like exciting and stuff? Well, GoToWebinar has a few different requirements for those of you who have presented on GoToWebinar. So you can read how to include media sound during a session very, very quickly, and I can ramble on through it, or you can go into the details, or you can just scan this QR code. I'm going to give you a few seconds so you can take out your phone and scan this QR code, and I'm happy to provide the link afterwards to Kevin as well if some of you have missed it. Please do not go through all of the functionality now. Just open it in a browser tab. There you go. If it's on your phone, just leave it. Leave it. I know it's exciting. Leave it. Put down your phone. Thank you very much. We are moving on. So in GoToWebinar, when you present for Sakia, you have to know this platform. Yes, in Zoom we do things, in Google Meet we do things, and MS Teams we do things. Just know how your tech works. It's all online, and they've even got a video to teach you how to do it. Okay, we're still with visual. I have now hopped on about slide design for about half of my time because that's how important it is. Yes, people see your face, but frankly, you look the same at the beginning of an hour or end of an hour. Sometimes the hair shifts and all of these things, but it's just your face. People might want something else to look at, or they might have gotten distracted and they want to catch up quickly. Okay, so slide design, incredibly important, not just for your attendees, but also for you. Good slide design that you use to repackage information helps you to prepare and to rehearse, believe it or not, because your brain also remembers pictures a lot faster and a lot better than it remembers words. Let's talk about background quickly. You all know this by now, I hope, because it's 2025, no longer 2020, but let's mention this in any case because there might be some new trainers among us. Cluttered background is a no-no, an absolute no. The most cluttered you can go is like what I've got here. Far in the background, kind of neatly cluttered. If you're in a bedroom, if you're outside, if you're wherever you are, find the wall that is most blank. Rather have a boring background than a cluttered background. Always. You don't need to go and buy a green screen. You don't need to go and paint a wall a specific color. Just understand that from people's focus, if they have to look at you for an hour, for 2 hours, for 3 days long, they are going to start looking at what's behind you. What is that on the ground? When last did you clean? Let's not do that. Let's keep the focus on you. And if you use a virtual background, please use one that is either provided to you by your client or by Zakia or by your company, or use one that is professional. Now is not necessarily the time to show your love for all of the hobbies in the entire world. That's the background. Camera angle. You won't believe it, but it's as important. Now, it's interesting to me. Here I'm talking to a bunch of people who might, who most probably know more about camera angles and room reverb and all of those things than I do. But I'm going to include it anyways, because there are a few common mistakes that I see trainers make because we are so focused and we're so excited about our content that we kind of forget to design that part of the experience as well. If you are running 2 screens, I think my husband is on 3 screens at the moment. If you're running 2 screens, please look at the screen where the webcam is live. Otherwise, it looks like this. And I'm sure you've been in meetings where people think they are looking at you because they can see the faces on the screen. They can see all of the reactions. And all you can see is someone who's completely distracted and not making eye contact. Please look at the screen where the camera is active. Then, please ensure that your camera faces you in your eyes, not up the nostrils. You'll see on news broadcasts very, very often clever experts, smart people, incredibly smart people, but they're all from this angle. Don't do that to yourself because it's really, really easy. Just raise your laptop. That's all. If you're using your integrated camera, which I have since 2023, literally being a professional speaker through all of the pandemic, it's fine. Just raise your entire laptop on a box, on books or something, so that your camera is eye level, so that you don't look down or look down, so it doesn't give weird angles. And when you look at the camera, please don't look at your own pretty self on the screen or the stuff that you are displaying, because it creates disconnect once again. See, I'm talking to you now, but if you're looking at my face, if you can see my face, it's kind of like I'm ignoring you. This might be one of the toughest skills for people to learn. You are monologuing. You are creating your own energy. There's no feedback. There's no stuff in the room to read. You don't know how people are reacting. You don't even know if people are really attending the session. And you can't watch what you're doing. You have to look people in the eye. As much as you look them in the eye across the table, please look them in the eye virtually as well and stare at that little camera lens in front of you as much as you possibly can while presenting. Then my other big pet peeve is please position yourself according to the rule of thirds, not halves. I see people very often place their eyes at the center of the screen. And then there's this huge negative space that is very, very awkward. And sometimes people even put their tops of their heads in the middle of the screen. Don't do that. It makes you look a lot more professional and polished, and the session more designed, the setup more designed when you follow the rule of thirds, where you have your eyes at the top third of the screen. And your head can even go outside the screen a little bit. So I know we can't see your cameras and so on. So usually when I'm doing the session and I'm seeing everybody, now is the time I've seen, cameras move and so on. So if you're using your laptop and your integrated camera and you tilt the screen, tilt it a little bit further than you want to, because the automatic right action will take it down. Tilt it further than you think necessary, because it will always go back a little bit. Don't be afraid of it. It makes a huge difference. If you go read up about photography, which I'm sure there's a bunch of you as well, rule of thirds, please. That'd be great. Here's what it looks like. Do not look at the face. Once again, it's way too animated for still stuff. Look, there you go. The top of my head, which people say, oh, it should all. Nothing should ever fit into every frame because, frankly, as you move, you're going to move outside of the frame. And this is not a movie. We're not in a Hollywood production. We want to make people interested by using all of their senses. So here you'll see the top of my head is cut off. And yes, my hair did look like that sometime and very, very short and very white as well. I can't remember if Kevin and I was in touch then, were in touch then. But you'll see my eyes here are neatly on the top third of the screen with my chin about at the bottom third. And talking about raising your laptop, this was before I used an external webcam. This was at a client's offices in Parktown, and I had to present an entire award session monologuing. That was a lot of fun. But then the same rule applies. We found two boxes. I raised my camera as best as I could. The background there was to look professional and so on. And you just make do with what you have. You don't need extra equipment. You don't need other things. You just need to make sure that you've designed whatever it is your attendees will see and hear and experience and do. Okay, lighting. Lighting technicians, do not come at me for this. This is very rudimentary. If you're presenting in the daytime, don't sit with your back to the window. Yes, that might be how you are set up for working on a regular basis, but when you are presenting, people don't want to do this. They want to see you, not your background. So if you have a window behind you, please close the drapes. If they don't provide a good sunblock, then just find somewhere else temporary for that training session if you possibly can. Also, don't have light just from the one side. Once again, that might be how you set up to work on a regular basis. But here we are designing the experience. We are not just dumping content. So light just from one side, no. If that is your, once again, in the daytime, if that is your primary source of window, just use your ring light and balance it out. No, I'm not going to make all of us lighting technicians right now. But just have a look at what light does, because this is what you want to see. People don't want to be distracted by a background. They want to be able to see you clearly. So what do? Ring light. No, don't become a beauty vlogger and all of those things. That's not what I'm saying, but you've seen these everywhere. Look, if it does the rainbow color thing, maybe not. Just use nice white light. You can set it a little bit for warmer and cooler and all of these things. Just use whatever you can find as cheap as you have. The ring light I'm using, I was forced by a client in Belgium to buy. And then I still had to go to specialty shops and say they weren't on Takealot, they weren't at the corner shops. And then after a while, I found, it became more readily available. And this little one I found, I think it was for like 90 Rand or something at a Galmar near me. And it plugs in. It's just a USB thingy. So now I've got my big ring light on because it's pitch black outside. But sometimes when I just need a little bit of extra light, this is the thingy I use. It doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't need to be professional. It just needs to be thought through. People and pets. My daughter has a cat. The cat is obsessed with me. I am sitting here with no airflow because if I have airflow and I'm comfortable, you would have seen the cat a million times by now because apparently it cannot be separated from me. Okay, that rant over. When you share your space with people and with pets, close the doors, close the windows, do everything you need, communicate with them beforehand. Once again, it's 2025, it's not 2020 beforehand, but just communicate with them the length of training and so on, and perhaps tell them to get off Netflix and stuff just for the time so that your internet quality is as good as it can be. And pay attention to your appearance. Yes, it's not necessarily HD. Yes, people might not. The standards have changed. We don't all need to dress like newscasters and be in a full face of makeup or have your hair combed properly, but just have a look at appearance. Same as if you were to attend a meeting and a person would dress sloppily. You have certain preconceived ideas that you might fall victim to, and the same for our attendees. They're expecting a level of professionalism, and that level of professionalism should reflect in our appearance as well, even if we're wearing shorts and pluckies, because it's really hot at the moment. Body language. Oh my goodness, body language. Just because you're in your most comfortable chair ever does not mean I need to know it. It does not mean that just because you rock in your chair, because that's how you work, that you can do that in training. It does not mean that because you're used to working like you're a presenter, you're a trainer, you're the facilitator. You are the expert in the room, and your body language should reflect it. Look, I very obviously talk with my hands. I've never tried not doing it. I think I might go mad. The brain might not work. You don't need to talk with your hands, but if you do, please just practice a little bit to see how they fit in the frame. If I talk to people on stage, my hand position would be lower because I don't want to be close to my face. But it makes no sense for me doing this outside of the screen and my like the top of my arms just flapping around. So just be intentional about body language, about posture. Usually keep a little bit of space between your back and the back of your chair. That will force you to sit upright. Otherwise, you go shrimp like I do all of the time. Just pay attention to your body language. Oh, and get yourself a chair that doesn't go deflate all of the time. I should really get myself another chair. We've now designed the visual experience. We haven't said a word. I've harped on for a good 20 minutes just on the visual aspect of it. People are used to watching TV, Netflix, produce things. Even content creators to some extent is produced. That's unfortunately the standard. We don't have to live up to a Hollywood presentation quality, but we do have to design the visual aspect, all of it, of our presentations. Now we only get to the sound part, and I'm going to start at background noise. It is not 2020, it is 2025. I'm sure you know all of this, but if there's background noise, have a headset that you can plug in. This is my trusty little, very, very, very old Apple, before they became, no, they're still earpods. They're not AirPods, they're earpods. There you go. So at the moment, and there's a plane going over or whatever it is, I just quickly rip these out, stick them in, and then I can reduce the noise. At the moment, I'm working from an external microphone, so that does reduce the noise a little bit. But if you've warned your people and your pets to not interrupt you and to take all of the courier guy deliveries for you and the 60/60 deliveries, well, not this time of night, then make sure that you can reduce the background noise if there is something unexpected. Microphone quality and volume. Sound engineers, do not come at me. This will be rudimentary. Test with others before the session what the quality and volume of your microphone is, because it might be worth investing in a very cheap, I think this one was 250 Rand off Take-A-Lot years ago, in an external microphone with a little bit of a pop filter or a foamy thingy for all of those types of things. But just pay attention to if there are any sound issues with your microphone. I know two of my team at the moment, they've got sound card issue, something. So theirs is always scratchy. And it's a huge irritation if you have to listen to a scratchy microphone for an hour long, for 2 hours long. So just on a regular basis, go check your microphone quality and on which setting the volume is. It's not as iffy as it was in the beginning with all of these tools back in 2020, where, you know, if you set something, then the microphone almost kind of turns itself off and then it's too loud again. The auto adjust is quite dependable. Room reverb. Once again, sound engineers and my dad. Very, very rudimentary. Room reverb does have an impact when we do online presentations, which is one of the reasons I'm using an external microphone at the moment, because the space I'm in is filled with a bunch of hard objects. So sound bounces around because there's a sound wave. The wave bounces on that wall and bounces there. So it gives an echo. It gives a hollow feeling that is uncomfortable to the ear after a long time. If you're in a room or office or wherever it is with soft furnishings, you most probably won't have a problem. I've recently added a curtain. I've got a fluffy carpet. I've got some pillows, but apparently those pillows aren't fluffy enough. They're not fluffy at all, so they don't help. So just pay attention to the room, the space you are in for room reverb. If you then have to take a fluffy towel or fluffy blanket and just lay it around your laptop, and it will absorb some of the sound. Design the sound experience for your attendees as well, and use language that everybody can understand. Just because we are used to jargon does not mean everybody is. And we can lose people simply with a language. When you are designing your training, when you're designing the slides, all of those things, think about, is there a simpler way I can put this? Is there an analogy? Is there a different word? Is there a common term that people use that is technically inaccurate, but that I can reference so to help people understand? At the beginning of my speaking career, I was practicing and rehearsing, and I said my thing to my finance manager, and I felt very, I know stuff. And she's like, I'm glad you feel good about it, but I understand nothing of it. And I realized it's not about us. It's not about our knowledge. We already look cool. We're like, yeah, I can talk for an hour and a half and no one can kick me off. Don't you dare, Kevin. But the rest we have to earn is their growth, is our audience's growth, is meeting their needs, is helping them to move forward. So it's not about the big words we know and the fancy terms we know. It's about molding our language so that our audience gets what we're trying to teach. And then voice. Look, that's another 3-day session. I'm not a voice actor by any means. I'm not a voice trainer by any means. I'm terrible to my own voice. I don't follow any of the exercises. I should most probably take a sip of water. If you've ever been accused of being monotone, of being boring, if you've ever seen people fall asleep, that is the most horrible thing. Hey, people do this in your session. I'm like, I'm not that boring, I promise. Anyway, it happens to all of us. I can't say the best of us, to all of us. Your voice makes a huge difference, especially in this environment. Look, we give training. Cameras might be off. We don't know if people are cooking. We don't know if they are multi-screening. We don't know if they are catching up on emails. They might just be ticking the boxes. We don't know. We can say, you have to give me the time of the day, or we can earn it simply by our voice. If people can't look at our screens or don't want to look at our screens, then by use of our voice, we can do it. Now, there's apparently 9 elements of voice, and I've decided to just curate 3 because these, for me, are the easiest to practice and the easiest to influence. First one is pace. I am very obviously not a slow talker. So I have to remember to sometimes slow a sentence down if I want to make a point, have some awkward silences, because yes, when I'm not speaking, no one else is. So it's a monologue. And to sometimes speed it up. Even, if you want to get through some information, you're saying, this is not important, yada, yada, yada. Okay, now let's focus on this bit. Do not start slow and steady and confident until the end. When you run out of time, you go, oh, let's skip this right, and this you can do, and that you can Google, and let's just go over this quick. That is not what pace is for. Pace is to listen to yourself while you are talking without freaking out, and just making sure that sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. Intonation. If your voice always does this, with every sentence, change that. Sometimes people go and they read off a list and they ask people questions and every sentence goes up. If you can find patterns in the tone of your voice, break that pattern. Intonation is one of the biggest skills that you can learn with your voice. And yes, it takes time, and yes, it takes effort. Best place to practice in your car or during meetings or during phone calls. And people might be going, what is wrong with you? You've never sounded like this. But just listen to your own voice. If you're a monotone speaker, because that's just what you're comfortable with, just try with pace or specifically with intonation to make your voice go up sometimes and sometimes go down, but not in the same pattern every single time. Change it up and pause and volume. So sometimes you can do the loud thing and sometimes you can do the soft thing. And if you're afraid that people might hear you, then whisper, because that creates body language, that creates a sense of entertainment as well. Play with your voice. Because if people can't see your slides or your slides let you down or whatever it is, play with your voice. It's an incredible instrument and it is only in your control. But you've got to play with it. You've got to learn how to manage it as an instrument. There's this fun little app. You are welcome to scan it, but don't play with it now. It's an AI tool. It analyzes the quality of your speech in terms of tone and in terms of accuracy. So I tested it today and it called me hesitant. I'm like, excuse me, of all the things I am not hesitant. And I tried to be rude and it called me assertive. So I still, do the rude thing a little bit and see where it goes. But it's just a fun game to go and test yourself without having to ask someone that is actually live for feedback, which can be really scary. Use AI and practice your voice there. Practice the pace and the intonation and the volume. And now, by using a bunch of filler words and long pauses, I have given you enough time to scan the QR code, so I will be moving on. Next part of this, it's not just about the content, it's the entire experience, is what people feel. And you might go, well, I don't care. I'm here for information, or I'm here for a legal session, or frankly, this shouldn't be about caring. It's not fluffy stuff. I'm not going to do it. So here's what I mean about what people feel, where people are. And a lot of it to do is with attendee cameras on and off. With this whole conversation about make it more interactive, it must be more engaged. I've seen trainers go, well, then I want their cameras on. If their cameras are on, I can watch them. I can make sure that they are paying attention. Don't discipline people into paying attention. Earn their attention. So cameras on or cameras off. Yes, sometimes it does help people to pay more attention, but here's my thing. Not everybody is in a position to have their cameras on. This is one of my big things back in 2020. We don't know where people are when they are attending these sessions. They might not want to show where they are at the moment. Now it's more of a case of you might not know what's happening in their lives to make their lives happen. You can be grateful that they are attending the training because this is what might be going on. Yes, that's me. And as you can see by the state of my hair, it wasn't a really good day. This was taken, about 10 years ago. The son is very small. He is now almost exiting primary school. He was sick the day where he was injured. I'm looking at the poor face. I'm like, sure, couldn't you have been a better mummy and just pay attention to the kid? But I had a pitch meeting or a brief. I can't remember what it was. I think this was before online stuff. I had deadlines. There you go. You'll see the old MacBook there as well. If that was my situation on that day and I had to attend your training, I would have been in a position to attend your training. I had time. I just had to have a small little boy lie on my nap the whole day so he can feel better. So I've got time and attention for your training. But not if my camera has to be on, because I'm splitting my focus between you and this and the kid, and the cameras on do not equal engagement. Comfort breaks kind of don't or go for engagement as well, but that kind of helps to keep people engaged and to keep people interactive. If we've got physiological needs, you can be as brilliant as you want, and the tone of your voice and the pace of your voice can be as awesome as you want. If people need to have a break, they need to have a break. So if it's a long training session, please plan those comfort breaks and tell people when those breaks are. I've often found that if you tell people that you have to be able to hold on for an hour, then they'll push through. But if they don't know when it's coming up, they don't know. And yes, even in these sessions, maybe people just need to get up and pay attention to something. But I am not going to give you a comfort break today because I am being mean and we don't have a lot of time. Sorry. Please make people feel included and supported. Just because we are experts does not mean everybody else is. We might have people of different levels, of different backgrounds, of different cultures, of different beliefs. So please just pay attention to the habits that you have when speaking. That might be absolutely fine when you're in your team, when you're in your company, when you're with your family and friends and so on. That might not translate very well when you are doing training online. So just be sensitive about all those things and try and make as many people as possible in your sessions feel included and supported. The last one of this design the entire experience is stuff people can do. Oh my goodness, make it interactive. I attended a session once. This was an in-person session where the speaker stood up, hour-and-a-half session, and they started off by saying, I want to make this a really interactive and engaging discussion. So put up your hands when you have something to say. And they proceeded to talk for an hour and a half. Just saying it needs to be interactive doesn't mean it is interactive. We actually have to design the interactive experience. And if we think of what interactive means and engaged means, does it mean excited? Does it mean entertained? Does it mean passionate? Does it mean they actually do stuff? For me, in this context, is give people stuff to do, not because you want to punish them and they must make sure that they're attending and they are listening and, set traps for people. Earn their attention, earn their excitement to participate in whatever it is. Kevin, are you there?
I am a voice
Could
from the
you
dark.
could you please read the first bullet point for us?
If you want a truly engaged audience, don't show them a slide like this. They'll simply read what's on it and disengage until they can read the next slide.
Now, I cannot see your hands, but please, everybody who's done that, raise your hand. Since you're giving me the content, I'm going to read it. I'm going to carry on. I'll get back to the next one, screenshot it or whatever. Let's not do that. Let's design interesting slides. Point made. Watching videos isn't interactive. So there's another soapbox of mine. Oh, I want to make this interactive. I want to make this engaging. Okay, so before the video, people were sitting and watching and listening. During the video, people are sitting and watching and listening. Yes, it's a break from you and your voice and your way of doing things, but it's not interactive. So yes, it's there for entertainment. It's to change it up. It's to, awaken something in their brains. It's whatever it is, but please don't call videos interactive. That does not tick that box. There's a difference between engaged and participative. Tuli Madonsela has highly engaged audiences. She speaks slow and soft. She doesn't move on stage, but you can hear a pin drop. There's nothing for the audience to do, but it's an engaged audience. So please make sure that when you design this experience, are you designing for an engaged audience or participative audience? Because those two are separate things. If you want people to participate, and that is your definition of interactive, then they can only participate if you've planned the interactivity beforehand. Saying, raise your hand if you've got a question. Saying, use the Q&A box. That is not planned participation. People don't often have questions while they are getting new information. They might have questions after, or you might have a burning question. You raised your hand, and I've just been completely ignoring you because I'm working all of the Plan C tech at the moment. Plan the interactivity beforehand, but don't force the use of polls and breakout rooms and whiteboards and Q&As just to say, this was interactive, they did stuff, tick. Only use it if it really makes sense. Go to webinars, all of it, and Kevin asked me, do you want to upload videos? Do you want to do polls? Do you want to do any of this? Only use it if it makes sense. For this session, for me, none of that made sense. The exercise I have afterwards will, but it's not going to be using any of the tech. The use of tech does not make your session interactive, participative, engaging, any of these things, especially if it's unfamiliar tech. Just because you're excited about it doesn't mean that they will get it, especially at the start of a session. Oh, I've seen so many sessions. Tonight we are going to talk about, so here's this fancy new online whiteboard tool. You have to download this. Well, actually, it's just integrating here. Just click this button. People are going, what must I click? Where, the for, the who? And then a session that was designed for 5 minutes of interactivity becomes a 20-minute session of tech Q&A and helping people, and finally just saying, it's okay, you can just tell us now when we switch the microphones on. Participation, interactivity should never become an irritation. So yes, make it interactive, but design that interactivity. Here's an example. In 2020, we were contracted by the Compliance Institute to assist with their conference. Only the marketing of it, actually. But because online conferencing was new and, we were their partners and we talked a whole lot about it, as we're going through this program, like, these people will be sitting for 3 days. Yes, they'll be watching videos, but they'll be sitting and watching and listening. What's in there for them to do? So the theme was rise above, reach beyond, with this cloudy theme and the paper airplane. So in one of the comfort break sessions, we said, well, here's some nicely designed and branded paper plane instructions for you while you're sitting and watching and waiting, because it's 2020, no one can do anything they want. Here's the thing, take a piece of paper and build something, fold something, and then take a picture, send it to this number, and it was uploaded to the KISA social media channels. It had nothing to do with the actual content. It wasn't a poll. It didn't give any feedback or ego boost to the presenter. But they built the airplanes, and they did a pretty good job. They built the airplanes. It was something to do. It was something they would remember. It was something that tied back to it. And it was completely designed from beginning to end. All they had to do was execute it. They didn't have to think of participation opportunities. My final notes on this, it's not just about the content, it's about the entire experience, is that you have to rehearse. I am the worst rehearser on the planet. I haven't met anyone on the planet, but according to my mom, I really am. I cannot rehearse for the life of me. It's the toughest thing to do. My brain freaks out with the boredom. So here's how I've hacked it. Instead of rehearsing word by word what I'm going to say, which is impossible if you're doing a 3-day session or even an hour and a half session as we're doing now, I rehearse my structure, that outline, the 4 things: sight, audio, so what you see, what you hear, what you feel, and what you participate in. Then within each of those, I know what the outline is, but all of the things are that I want to say. For the rest, the words, you know your stuff. That's why you're a trainer. You know your stuff. The words will come to you. But if you know your structure, then it's going to be easy for you to get your words into a flow. That sounds like a story. That's not, okay, and on the next slide, we are going to look at this and this and this. Oh, what this slide? Okay, so this slide talks about they want to listen to a story. Yes, we're not doing a Hollywood production, but we can try. So rehearse that structure of your presentation, and that's why slide design is so important. If we've just copied and pasted and dumped a bunch of things into our slides, we haven't designed it, we haven't packaged it, and we have taken an opportunity for automatic rehearsal away from ourselves. Rehearse your triggers. If you are using specific areas of focus, or if a bubble needs to appear, or if something needs to snap, don't do that. Or if you want to emphasize something, just rehearse what you want to say and when you need to press that button to advance your slide. This is less important during online presentations and more important on stage, but it does help if you remember which animations you've coded in and which ones to use. Rehearse the tech. Whether it's Google Meet, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Skype doesn't exist anymore, rehearse the tech. It changes all the time. The day before your session, log in, do a rehearsal if you can, even if it's you staring at your own face. Just rehearse the tech. Where do I need to click to share? Where do I need to click to unshare? Where do I need to click to include video? Where do I need to unclick that? You'll see me struggle now when I have to end this presentation. I've got no idea what I'm doing because I didn't rehearse this bit of the tech. Rehearse your tech so that you don't have to go, let me just fiddle around. And remember, if the tech stuffs you around like it sometimes does, just talk your attendees through it. Confident. Everybody knows life happens. Talk them through it so they know where you are. Okay, great. You're set up. Here we go. And you go with confidence. And rehearse your backups. I've got my tripod set up here because I had to do my tech check tonight from my phone. Had to download the GoToWebinar app. Had to do a tech check. Poor Kevin was going, what is happening? Because yes, an update ran. Check your backups. Make sure that your power banks are charged. Make sure that your backup lighting, backup everything is with you. I had to do a session once. We live in an area that doesn't get load shedding. So the power cut when it happened was completely unplanned, and I was finishing with a bunch of pitch meetings that day, and I had to do a presentation that night to a group of women. I had no power on the laptop at all. Thank goodness I didn't have to have a presentation. No, nothing. The husband wasn't home. The kids, still small, had to be fed. I ordered pizza, and I said, you'll sit there and you will shush. And I took 2 camping lights, those black ones that we have put out during load shedding. I put them up on the wall. They weren't even fully charged. And I put my my phone up against something, and I was pretty much, because I was dressed in black, a floating head against a dark background, but it was enough to get the job done. Plan A doesn't always work out, neither does Plan B, and neither does Plan C. Have all of the backups that you possibly can so you can at least present something. Do your setup. So this is very, very interesting. Set up early. I was ready to go at 6 o'clock because Kevin and I was going to do a tech check at 6:30. And then I shut down and I started up my PC because I do not practice what I do not preach. And the PC decided that now is a good time for Windows updates. Luckily, I know my machine updates really, really fast, but it was still 45 minutes. So if you do a shutdown and a startup, please do it the morning of. The reason for shutdown and startup is it clears a whole bunch of memory that you would need for, especially if you've got image heavy slides or playing video or so on. It just delivers a smoother experience for yourself and for the attendees, supposedly, says she who is on plan C of the test. Test the tech. I did. I promise I did. And still let me down. Here where I'm saying test tech is test your slideshow, test if all of the things are working early before your tech check. Tech check should be when everything on your side is already ready. You're just testing the platform, the connectivity. Test your own tech before that. Display your slides so that you don't go into, oh, I need to find the PowerPoint and where's the display button and then can you see my screen? Display your slides. Have it in display mode already. So that when you start sharing your screen, you don't select the open PowerPoint or Keynote. You select the slide that is already being displayed. And always, always, always have at least one glass of water next to you.